All right, so this is how to get your first or next copywriting client. You guys probably know a little bit about me, but just to give you an idea, I've been a full-time copywriter for the past 7 years or so, full-time. And in that time, I've written for a little over 70 brands, probably more than that, but these are some of the logos I put together. A side note for those of you who are getting into copywriting, make sure you update your bona fides. So keep that updated because you'll keep doing client work and then you forget to update your own stuff. And then when you eventually do it, you realize that, hey, I've done a ton of work and I haven't actually noted it down. So keep the stuff up to date. My work has been featured in ad skills and marketing examples in the Copywriter Club and Copy Squad. So I'm starting to get featured a little bit more in some of these bigger publications or bigger brands related to marketing and copywriting, and that's pretty cool. I don't talk about how much money I make per year in general, but it's enough for me to support a family of six. Um, and then, I'm the sole income in the household. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. So yeah, it's a decent living. Our business, tiny boutique agency, Dropkick Copy, has been growing year over year steadily for the past 3 or 4 years. So it's doing pretty well. And here's a few testimonials, what people are saying about me. If you have no idea who these people are, that's okay. The type of people who are the type of businesses or business owners that I like to do business with, they recognize these names, and those are my kind of people. So it doesn't have to, your testimonials don't have to appeal to anybody or everybody. They just have to appeal to the right kind of audience. So here are the outcomes that we're going for the workshop. And I want you to hold me to these outcomes as I go through the material. If I forget any of this stuff, if I forget to include or cover some of this stuff, just remind me at the end of the workshop. All right. So we're gonna fix your expectations about freelance copywriting. We are going to fix your online presence so that it actually helps you get clients rather than hurts you. I'm going to give you the framework for cold emails and DMs that get replies. We are going to figure out the way to get clients, new clients, without actually getting on sales calls. And we are going to cover how to get paid 100% in advance before you actually start the work. So you're never running after invoices or something like that. So this is part one, why you're not getting clients. And we're going to cover whether or not, this is an important question that you have to ask yourself and answer. Do you really want to be a freelancer? Because some of you, maybe even a lot of you, are not cut out for freelancing and being a freelance business owner. And that's okay, but it's important that you understand whether this lifestyle, like this way to earn an income, is for you or not. We're going to cover the two skill sets that you need to be a working copywriter, and we're going to cover how much it is going to take to get your first client. All right, and before we actually go into that, it's important to fix your attitude. So here's a couple of responses I got from people on my email list. The first was when I announced this workshop a couple of weeks ago for Copy Squad. This lady emailed me saying, does it work for a Middle Eastern woman who wears the hijab? Will you teach us how to get well-paying gigs? And I don't mean getting the 10K gigs, but also not $30 gigs. And the second email or response was from, I guess they're a copywriter, but they mentioned to me that they had spent a lot of money on courses and not gotten any results. So I responded to him saying, if you've invested in courses and you're not getting results, it's because you either haven't done the work or you're not doing the work properly. And this was his reply back. He said, you seem to not understand that I am a Nigerian, so many limitations I have in making things happen based on the country. You can't just put the blame on me. Now, here's something that nobody will actually tell you, or few people will tell you. If you are a woman, if you live in the global south or you live in a third world country, if you are a certain ethnic minority, if you are some sort of a sexual minority or religious minority, you are going to have a harder time building a freelance copywriting business. Okay, it's just that's the way the world works, and you can either cry about it and complain about it and think of yourself as a victim, or you can understand the situation that you're in and work to overcome it regardless. All right, because at the end of the day, results, okay, ROI, results, copywriting results, sales, they don't have any gender, they don't have a color, they don't have a sexual orientation, and that's all that matters, is that you get results. All right, and so to address these attitudes, okay, yes, the strategies I'm about to share with you are going to work for anybody, doesn't matter where you are, okay? And if you aren't willing to do the $30 jobs, you probably won't make it to the point where you get the $10,000 jobs, okay? So you're just gonna fix that attitude in yourself. And finally, it really doesn't matter where you're from. I know plenty of African copywriters who are making money, who are getting clients, who are getting paid, and they didn't let the fact that they're from Africa stop them from making a living. And so here's the question that you need to ask yourself is, are you about that freelance copywriting life? And so this is a concept that I came up with. I don't know whether I came up with it, but I certainly arrived at it independently. It's called the convenience control continuum. All right. And you can put pretty much any life decision or lifestyle choice onto this continuum. Say you're trying to lose weight, okay, or you're trying to eat better. You can put cooking your own food on one end of the continuum and paying for pre-cooked meals, like a meal delivery service, on one end of the continuum. All right, and it's one or the other. And in many sort of domains in your life, you're going to have to choose, or you will choose, control over convenience. The more you opt for convenience, the less control you have, and the less convenient the activity, the more control you have. And so when we apply this to the career of copywriting, you have a situation where you're focused more on the copywriting side and less on the business side, and a situation where you're focused more on the business side and less on the copywriting side, because those are the two skills that you need to be a freelance copywriter. You have the skill of copywriting. That's one skill that it needs to be learned and you need to practice. And you have the business of copywriting, and running a business is its own skill, and it has its own sort of things that you need to learn and do and get good at. All right. So if you only want to focus on writing the best words possible, all right, and you don't care about the business side of it, you don't want to run your own business as a freelancer, then it's likely that, or it's best for you that you take an agency or an in-house position, and you'll be a full-time employee pretty much, and you'll earn a good living. And depending on which type of company that you sign up with, or which type of agency that you sign up with, you will also have the opportunity to earn commissions and royalties and increase your income that way. All right. And then as we progress more to the less convenient, more control-oriented side of the continuum, next we have the freelance business owner. All right. So here you have a little bit more control in that you choose the type of work that you want to do, you choose the clients that you want to work with. However, you are still working for clients, and you're a service provider at the end of the day. And instead of one boss, you have many bosses. And while that can seem bad in one sense, it's also, you still have more freedom, because at any point in time, you can fire a client that you don't want to work with. Okay. Then again, more on the business side, you have being an affiliate marketer. And here, you don't deal with clients anymore. You are simply affiliating for other businesses, and you get a cut of whatever revenue you generate for that business. And still, it's not fully in your control, because you are still beholden to the terms and conditions of the affiliates that you run traffic for or get sales for. They control how often you get paid out or how soon you get paid out. They have their own terms of what counts as a sale, what when they don't count a sale, things of that nature. So while you don't have any bosses, and while you are in complete control of which products that you have to affiliate for, you still have to deal with the affiliate terms and conditions and deal with the businesses that you affiliate for. And then finally, you have the side that's most business and least copywriting is when you you have your own offer. In this sense, you're a business owner, a pure business owner, and eventually you'll have people writing for you as opposed to you writing the copy. But here is where you have the most control over your income and the most control over what you work on, because you have taken on the most risk and the greatest number of problems that you want to solve. This is another way to look at it. The more problems you are willing to solve, the bigger the problems you're willing to solve, the more income you'll make, and it correlates. And the fewer problems that you solve, the smaller the problems that you solve, you make less income. Okay, and so you need to decide, and don't take this decision lightly. You need to decide whether you want to be a freelance copywriter, because that's what most of you are in here for. You're either freelance copywriters or agency copywriters or in-house copywriters. You need to decide whether you want to focus more on the skill of copywriting, or you want a mix of the skill of copywriting and the business of copywriting, because what you choose will affect how your career progresses. Me, for example, because I've only been a freelance copywriter, my skill as a copywriter has not progressed as far as some of my peers or people who started around the same time as me, because they went into a direct response company and they got trained by advanced copywriters and things of that nature, whereas I went straight into freelancing. So my copywriting skill is not as developed as some of my peers, even though I have been running a successful business for a while. And don't get me wrong, even if you're an in-house copywriter or an agency copywriter, if you work for one of these direct response companies, you can make a ton of money. Sometimes, or in many cases, better than a freelance copywriter, because of the way that these companies structure their remuneration, the way they handle salary and royalties. That's where you're going to make your real money, is the royalties. And so here's why you're not getting clients, is because you're not putting enough work in. Okay, so there's this idea of copywriting as a lifestyle business that gets sold as a business opportunity by copywriting coaches. And the idea that they push is that you're only going to be working a couple of hours a day, and the rest of the time you can do pretty much whatever you want. But that really isn't the case, especially when you're starting out. When you're starting out, you need to treat copywriting as if it's a 40-hour-a-week job. And so compare how many hours you're putting in right now to the actual 40-hour work week, right? If you're only putting in 2 hours a day of work into either getting clients and building your business, and even as well as that, learning how to get better at writing copy or getting better at writing copy, you can immediately see why you're not progressing. Because if you assume that it takes a 40-hour work week to make serious progress in your copywriting career, and you're only putting in 8 hours of work a week, okay, it's quite obvious why you're not making progress, right? So treat it as if it's a job. If you're going to put in an 8-hour workday, put in an 8-hour workday, and I'll show you how to break that down, manage your time in a second. And then you're eventually going to see results, because once you put in the hours, you're going to send more outreach messages. All right. And that's really why you don't have clients, because you're not sending enough messages. You're not getting enough reps in. You're not getting in front of prospects often enough. And so that's why you haven't built up the volume or the quantity necessary to start seeing positive replies and having conversations with prospects and making offers and closing deals. And most of the time, well, there's two reasons why that you're not sending enough messages and not getting enough reps. Is one, you're not putting the hours in, and two, you're spending too much time learning copywriting. You can learn everything that you need to know about copywriting in order to start reaching out to clients and getting clients within 3 months. And I'm being very conservative there. If I was being aggressive, you can get passable enough with copywriting, the skill of copywriting, in 20 hours of focused work. And after those 20 hours of focused work are put in, then you can start reaching out to clients. And some of you have been learning how to write copy for a year and you don't have your first client. There was one person in a Facebook group a few years ago who posted that he had been learning copywriting for 3 years without getting a client. And that's completely ridiculous. And you have, on the other hand, on the other side of things, you have one of my copy cubs. She actually, when she started reaching out to get copywriting clients, and when she got her first client, she had not studied copywriting at all. What she did was she first started reaching out to people, seeing if she can get clients, to see if there's actual money in this, and to see if this is something that she can earn a decent living at. And then she started learning how to write copy. And so compare that to somebody who's been learning how to write copy for a year or two and not having any clients whatsoever, and this person who knows nothing about copywriting and is already getting clients. All right. And she was operating like that for about a year until we started working together. And when we started working together, she sucked. So she was able to make money. She was able to close deals and get clients for a year while not being very good at the skill of copywriting at all. It's just a matter of putting yourself out there and asking people to give you money in exchange for copy. And the thing about it is, as mindful you are of your skills or lack thereof, and as hesitant as you are to go out there and pitch your services as a copywriter, you have to understand that the vast majority of businesses out there know nothing about marketing. They suck at marketing. They suck at copywriting. They're awful. Yeah, they're just as bad as you were when you started, except they've never actually thought about learning copywriting. And so anything you do, they're so bad at marketing that in many cases, anything you do is going to get results. So you don't have to deal with this imposter syndrome, because as long as you're putting the work in, and as long as you have a focus on actually getting people results, you're going to be able to do well for your clients. So this is something that you need to get used to eating while being a copywriter. And these are shit sandwiches. All right. You have to get used to the idea of eating a lot of shit, because you're going to be sending thousands of DMs where you get no response. You're going to be sending, you're going to get hundreds of replies back that never turn into a deal. You're going to spend hours and hours researching prospects that you end up reaching out to, and they don't bother replying, or they're not interested. You're going to have to deal with clients lowballing you, trying to pay very little for your services, and you're going to have to deal with all of those things, negotiating with people. You're going to have situations where clients will want you to do the work up front and pay you after, and then you do the work and then they're not going to pay you. So all of this is just part of the journey of being a freelance copywriter, and you're going to have to eat the shit. There's no way around it, unless you're going through this workshop and you know what to look for, the pitfalls to avoid. But even then, you're going to have to deal with these situations. Okay, so yeah, get used to eating shit. And a lot of the problems that you're going to face as a copywriter can be overcome if you're a little bit resourceful. Now, the actual GIF that I wanted here was that one scene in Iron Man 1 where the bad guy, Obadiah Stane, is trying to make or remake the Iron Man Mark 1 or Mark 0, whatever it's called. And then the scientist can't make it, and he starts yelling at the scientist, Tony Stark made this in a cave with scraps. And so that's what you need to be. You need to be Tony Stark in a cave with scraps, building the first version of Iron Man. And that's how resourceful you need to be. And if you are resourceful, and again, there's everything that you need to know is online for free. You can learn how to write copy for free if you were actually resourceful enough to put in the work. You can find all the leads that you need for free. You can get clients for free. It costs nothing. All it takes is a little bit of time and elbow grease. And that's another reason why a lot of copywriters don't get clients, is because they're not willing to use their brain. They're not willing to use a little bit of cunning and hustle and resourcefulness, and figure out ways to solve problems. And basically, they're waiting for permission, or they're waiting for clients to fall in their lap. And that's not how. And even while you're writing copy, you are going to have to be resourceful in the process of delivering your services to your clients. So it's just a lack of resourcefulness on your part and a lack of curiosity on your part that's preventing you from accessing all of the free material that's available to you to achieve your goals. So to recap this first section, your job as a copywriter or a freelance copywriter or a beginner copywriter in the beginning, when you're starting out, your only job is getting your first 3 clients. That's it. And you ought to spend 90% of your time on it. I said we're going to do a 40-hour work week. You're going to spend 7 hours of that 8-hour day on reaching out to clients and trying to close deals. And you're going to spend 1 hour of your day on learning how to write copy, whether that's reading a piece of copy, writing a piece of copy, coming up with creative ideas. All right. So 90% of your time should be spent on client acquisition, and only 10% of your time should be on learning how to get better with writing copy. And this is important, this bit. I didn't emphasize it enough before, but assume that it's going to take 1,000 DMs to get your first positive reply, okay? And assume that it's going to take 10 positive replies to close 1 client. That means you're going to send 10,000 DMs or emails to get your first client, okay? If you go into this process with that expectation in mind, you will have a much easier time of it, because you're not going to be thinking, oh, I sent 50 DMs and I still haven't gotten a client. This doesn't work. It works. You just haven't done the volume yet, or you haven't done enough quantity yet. All right. And finally, think about the fact that you might not be cut out for freelancing. All right. Because there are people who are just not cut out for the swings and the uncertainty and the risk of being a freelance business owner. Some people are better off, or they're more inclined to just a steady paycheck that they can just focus on doing the best work possible. And if that's you, that is okay. All right. That it's okay to be an in-house copywriter or an agency copywriter, as long as you recognize that soon enough and not try to do something that's against your nature. All right. So part 2, what clients want. And this is basically copywriting 101. And I think that a lot of copywriting coaches focus on the mechanics of writing copy, but they don't focus on the fundamentals. And one of the fundamentals is understanding your audience and putting yourself in their shoes. So that's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover putting yourself in the prospect's shoes. We're going to cover the fact that you're paid to solve problems and not write words. And we're going to cover why you are not getting sales, because the prospect is uncertain about whether or not you're able to deliver for them. All right. So this is what you need to know about business owners. Business owners are busy. They're super busy. And when you reach out to them, you're interrupting their day. Not only that, you aren't the first person in their inbox. They're getting pitched several times a day. And moreover, they don't know you and they don't give a fuck about you. All right. And to put more of more clarity on why they're busy, a business owner, he's thinking in terms of yearly goals and yearly projects, and then on a shorter term, he's thinking of quarterly goals and quarterly projects. All right. And you, as a copywriter or a service provider or a vendor, all you're concerned with is delivering a piece of work and getting the results back. So your mental time frame is from the deliverable. Whereas the business owner, their mental time frame is from you can call them rocks. So the milestones or goals or projects from project to project. All right. So quarter to quarter, year to year, that's their timeline. That's their time horizon. You are just focused on this one piece of copy and getting them to accept it. So when you reach out to people, keep in mind that they're super busy. They're managing other people on their team. They're overseeing projects. They're trying to get work out. They're troubleshooting problems, and you are interrupting their day. Not only that, there's a bunch of other copywriters who are reaching out to them at the same time, and all of them have pitches as bad as yours unless you go through this program and improve your pitch. All right. So just imagine hearing the same thing over and over again, several times a day, dozens of times a week, and pretty soon you're going to tune it out. When guys slide into girls' DMs and they all saying this same kind of message, like good morning, hi, how are you, that kind of thing. That's why a lot of guys get ignored, because once a girl's heard that same message 100 times, she's done. She tunes it out. There's no point replying at all. So think about it that way. And when I say that they don't know you and they don't give a fuck about you, this is not in a malicious sense. It's in the sense that they have so many other things to deal with, and you're the last thing on their mind. All right. So once you put yourself in their shoes and understand it from their perspective and put yourself in their frame of mind, it becomes so much easier for you to devise a strategy to reach out to them, to make an offer, to get them to reply, and then to close them. All right. And what most copywriters do instead is they waste prospects' time with long messages, long DMs, long emails, or they will require them to think. If I have to think about how you can help me, I'm not going to bother. So I heard this from Jeff Moore, and he put it this way: how did you helping me become my problem? So anytime you reach out to a business owner, like, hey, I'm a copywriter, I would love to write some copy for you, let me know if you're interested in discussing. Now the business owner's got to think, oh, who is this guy? Is he for real? Is he a scammer? Do I have any projects that I need copy for? Is he any good? Does he have testimonials? Does he have a proof of work? That kind of thing. And there's this whole thought process that goes on. There's this additional work that goes on in order to actually start, not even hire you, but just to start the process of considering you. Okay. And as soon as you make me think, I have a million other things to think about, so I'm not going to bother thinking about you. All right. Because you're just some guy who came in off of the street telling me you're going to write copy for me. And again, to follow on from that, what's happening is that you're creating more problems than you solve. So of course, people are not going to work with you, not going to want to work with you. There was one member in Copyskills. He would, he was asking a question one time where, hey, I'm reaching out to this fitness YouTuber and pitching him on creating a course which we can then sell to an email list. All right. Now, this fitness YouTuber doesn't have an email list, right? He's never created courses before, right? And he is really, he's got other things to think about. He's got a million other projects that he's working on. So just think about the number of problems that this copywriter created by reaching out to this person with that pitch. So who's going to start the email list? Okay. Who is going to do who's going to seed the email list with the first bit of content to get leads? All right. Who's going to create the course and do all the recording and tech setup and all of those things? And who's going to put all of these things together and measure results and things like that? So don't think about it from your perspective of, hey, I can write some emails to get you some course customers, when you've just, instead of solving one big problem, you've added like 10 new problems to their plate. And that's the opposite of what you should be doing. You should be, or you ought to be, solving more problems than you create, or not creating any problems at all in the first place. Just one big solution and taking it off their plate. And finally, the reason why you don't get a response, or you get a negative response from prospects, or what a lot of copywriters do, is they make too big of an ask, or they require too big of a risk. We had copywriters in here that in Copyskills that they're launch strategists, and that's how they position themselves. And when they reach out to people, they reach out with, hey, I'm a launch copywriter. Do you need any help with launch copy? What you don't understand is business owners, they only launch 2 or 3 times a year if they follow the wrong strategy at all. And 2, they're not handing that project off, that launch project off, which is one of the most sensitive, difficult to execute, high stress, high risk projects that there is, to somebody, to a copywriter they don't know, who just walked off of the street. What they do is they find a copywriter within their network. They talk to people, business owners that they knew, who are the launch copywriters that you're using, who wrote a good launch, that kind of thing, and they hire those people through a warm introduction. So when you come in with a cold email or a cold DM saying, I'm going to do your launch strategy or your launch copy for you, that is too big of an ask. And so obviously you're going to get rejected. So here's an example from Fahim, who's in the community. He sent out a cold email applying the concepts that I've just discussed, right? By making a small ask, by standing out, and things of that nature, and just keeping the prospect's problems in mind and how to solve those problems. And this is the response that he got. Hi, Fahim, we get emails like this relentlessly, and we can't afford to reply to a tiny fraction, right? So think about how many emails they're getting on a daily basis, right? I like when you put your money where your mouth is, right? So that's the response that we were hoping for, because he stood out in the inbox and he made an offer that was appealing enough to the prospect to get him to reply. So to recap this section, don't waste their time, number one. And in order to not waste your time, you have to be brief. And I'm going to show you a graph that basically gives you data on why you ought to be brief and not long-winded, all right? Make it easy for them to say yes by making an offer, right? Make it easy for them to say yes, one, by being brief, by making an offer, by offering to solve a big problem for them, okay? And so when you're solving problems or you're making the offer, you want to make sure that you're solving more problems than you create, or not creating any problems at all, and you're trying to take work off of their plate rather than create more work, okay? And finally, to increase the likelihood that you get a response, start with a small job that's low risk to them and low risk to you. It's low risk in the sense that if they hire you and it fails, it's not that big of a deal. And it's low risk to you in that sense as well, if in the sense that if you get hired to do this and you fail, it's not such a huge impact. You can still move on to the next one and get results the second time or third time around. Part 3. All right. So here's what I mean by being resourceful. Okay. It doesn't cost any money to run a freelance copywriting business. In fact, copywriting is probably one of the few businesses where this is true, where you can learn everything you need to learn for free, and you can run your business completely for free. So here's a freelance copywriting tech stack, and that's what we're going to cover. I'm going to give you all the free tools you need to run your business. So obviously you need an email address, and that could be either Gmail or Outlook, and either go with your name at gmail.com or your business name at gmail.com. Badasscopy@gmail.com is not a good email address. Cumrocket7569 is not a good email address. So just make sure it's a professional looking email address. All right. You need a tool to schedule meetings. Cal.com is a free scheduling tool, and it's completely free unless you pay for like a premium handle. Other than that, it's free. For meetings and screen recording, you can use Google Meet. And in order to record a meeting with Google Meet, you need to have a Google Workspace account. So that option is not free. But to just have the meeting and talk to prospects, Google Meet is fine. For payment processing, you have Payoneer and Wise. And if you haven't gotten set up on Payoneer or Wise, make sure you do. We have Jay McConey's training inside the guest lecture section, where he talks about how to actually get paid for the work that you do. We have for digital products and productized services, you can use Lemon Squeezy, and completely free to use. They just take a cut of the revenue. For websites and landing pages, you can use Google Docs in pageless mode. For order fulfillment, and this is obvious, everybody uses it, Google Docs and Google Drive. Graphics for social media, you can either use Microsoft Designer or Bing Chat, yeah. And yeah, for email marketing, you can either use ConvertKit or Beehive. Never use MailChimp, so ConvertKit and Beehive only. They have very generous free plans. ConvertKit has it's free for the first 1,000 subscribers. Beehive is free for the first 2,500. All right. For AI, use Bing.com Chat. Yeah, so Bing Chat, which is basically layered into Bing. And also Google products now, they have integrated AI. For uploading videos for clients, let's say you need to do a breakdown or a walkthrough of some copy that you're delivering, you can upload it to YouTube. And you can also create content on YouTube, obviously, so that's SEO. And then for social media SEO, you have Twitter or LinkedIn. And social media platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn have good built-in SEO. So if you can You can show up, you can own your name or show up when somebody searches for your name, and you can also show up on keyword searches, especially on LinkedIn. If somebody's looking for a copywriter, they have good internal search optimization. For leads, right? You can use your personal network. So this is you don't have to answer this question, but how many of you have posted on your personal Facebook, hey, I am starting a new career as a freelance copywriter, and I'm looking for businesses that I can help with their marketing. I'm looking to get my first few clients. I'll be willing to give you a friends and family discount in order done and add it to my portfolio and to hopefully get a testimonial. Your friends and family, they work in jobs, they work in offices, those in companies. Those companies have marketing departments. Those companies need marketing help. So why aren't you reaching out to your personal network? All right. Conventions and trade shows. How many local conventions and trade shows have you gone to and said, hi, I'm a copywriter. Do you need help with your marketing? Right? Think about that. Gig marketplaces like Fiverr and Upwork, right? So these places are not necessarily free. I don't know. I don't think Upwork is free anymore, but Fiverr I know is at least free. But you can get set up, create an optimized profile, and start getting inbound leads just like that. Yeah. And so if you're worried about if you're somebody who doesn't like doing cold outreach or cold email, or you're concerned about whether or not you're going to be able to find leads and get clients, have you set up a Fiverr account or a Fiverr profile or an Upwork profile? Yeah. And those leads will come to you because it's a marketplace. And I think there's something like, I heard this stat yesterday or the day before, where it's like 3 million jobs or 3 billion jobs are posted on Upwork every single month. That's crazy. All right. You have business directories like Clutch and other websites where businesses will upload their business details, their website, what they do, and so on. A lot of these leads lists are generated by scraping these business directories. And instead of you buying the leads list, if you don't have the money to buy them, you can just go to these websites, look through each company one by one, and then reach out to them manually. And the same goes for review sites, right? Sites like G2, Capterra, Trustpilot, Yelp. They've got a ton of businesses listed. Those businesses have reviews. You can find their website and other info, and you can reach out to them. You can also search on Google, like plumbers in Dubai, or agencies in Dubai, or telehealth clinics in Dubai, or wherever you are. Again, it'll populate, it'll show up all of the businesses in your area. You can check out ad libraries. So on Facebook and TikTok, you can see who's advertising, and you can search either by the business name or the page name or by keywords, and you'll see who's advertising. And when you go to those websites of those brands that are advertising, the way machine learning algorithms work is that they'll start showing you other ads for similar brands. So right there you have, Facebook is going to send you leads of businesses that they're paying for marketing because they're buying ads, which means they have a marketing budget, which means they can possibly spend on copywriting. And so you know that they're willing to spend on marketing as well. Check job listings on LinkedIn, Indeed, and other websites. You can out where you can apply for the job, and if you don't get it, you can make them an offer to come on as a contractor, or you can apply for the job and say during the interview process that you want to work as a contractor if that's something that they're interested in. Or you can check out the job, find out try to sort of internet sleuth your way to finding out who the person is that's responsible for the hiring, or who the person is that is the hiring manager or the person that you'll be working for, and make them a pitch for being a contractor as well. You can use social listening. So a lot of people on social media profiles or social media channels will say, hey, I'm hiring a copywriter. Does anybody know anyone? In fact, one of the case studies that we're about to see is from a situation like that, where the business owner tweeted that he's looking for a copywriter. I got tagged in the comments. I DM'd the business owner and closed the deal and got paid within 60 minutes, right? So that's social listening. And also you have swipe sites. So sites like really good emails. And there's another one that starts with M. I think it's called mull.net. And these websites will have email swipes for different brands, and you can, check out those emails, see what the brand is, find out their details, their website, who runs them, and so on, and reach out to them. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sources of free leads. All right, and some of you still you've never had a client yet. How is that possible when I've just given you 10 sources of free leads off the top of my head? Okay, and all of these options are available to you and you still don't have clients. And again, it's because, like I said, you're not being resourceful. And if you want to be a successful copywriter, you have to be resourceful. So to recap, it doesn't cost you any money to get clients. Not only that, it doesn't cost you any money to learn copywriting. And 2, leads are everywhere and they're free. And 3, you don't have clients because you lack resourcefulness, not because you don't have access to the tools that you need or the tech that you need, right? On to part 4. And here's where a lot of copywriters make the mistake. Again, this is it's not really the fault. It's our fault as coaches, because we focus on teaching the technical writing copy and not the fundamentals. So part 4 is about selling offers and not selling services. And here is where you determine whether the stuff that you've been learning as a copywriter has actually sunk in, and you find out whether you're an actual copywriter or not. Because a copywriter you're not a copywriter because you can write words. You're a copywriter because you can sell stuff. That's a distinction. You're not a copywriter because you can write words on the internet. You're a copywriter because you can sell stuff, and your words sell stuff. So if you can't actually get people to buy the services that you're selling, we're also going to cover how to niche down, the right way to niche down. Okay, there's the right way and the wrong way. And I'm going to explain to you in not a lot of detail, but enough detail about what is an offer and why what you're pitching isn't an offer. Okay, so like I said, if you can't sell yourself, how can you sell for clients? Yeah, that's really the number one feature of whether or not you have the skills to do the job, is whether you can convince people to give you their money just for yourself. Never mind for the clients that you're writing for. Can you convince somebody? Can you me to give you money to write copy? If you can't do that, you're not really a copywriter. All right. And the reason why you are unable to convince them to give you money to write copy is because let's say you're an e-commerce copywriter. You're writing emails for e-commerce. How much do you know about their business? How much do you know about the or direct to consumer industry? How much do you know about the market? Okay, and how do you know where your work fits in with their marketing? Right. So what I mean to say is, like, say you're writing a welcome sequence. Do you know that the welcome sequence performance is dependent on the quality of the leads that they're buying, or the quality of the traffic that they're sending to the website that will either opt in or start that creates the abandoned checkout flow, or starts the abandoned checkout flow? Do you know about, if you're writing for SaaS, do you know about ARPU, average revenue per user? Do you know about CLTV? Do you know about contribution margin? Do you know these aspects of marketing that determine the success or failure of the business? And if you don't, why don't you know? Do you know what are the most common problems that e-commerce business owners are dealing with? If you're an e-commerce copywriter, why don't you know? And if you don't know, how can you understand or know what to sell to offer them that will solve those problems? And all of that is research. All of that is understanding your market, which is the person that you're selling to. And if you haven't done that research, if you haven't done that work, then you haven't done the first part of copywriting, which is actually the most important fundamental, which is knowing the market. What happened to the gladiator? Okay, so here, there was supposed to be a GIF in between here somewhere. So where is it? Where did it go? Yeah, so between these two slides, there's supposed to be a GIF, and the GIF is it's that from Gladiator, where they've just had the first match or whatever in Rome, and everybody's cheering for them. And Commodus, the new emperor, he comes out onto the field to talk to Russell Crowe's character, and Commodus asks Maximus, the Spaniard, to tell him his name, or he says, "Do you have a name?" And Russell Crowe says, "My name is Gladiator." All right, and he walks away, and then Commodus says, "Slave, you will take off your helmet and tell me your name." And so I'm thinking about it in the sense of a copywriter, where Commodus is yelling, "Copywriter, you will tell me your niche," right? And really, your niche as a beginning copywriter is just copywriter. You're a copywriter. Your job as a copywriter, it means you can sell anything, anywhere, to anyone at any time. And that's why you have to be trans niche. You have to be niche keyword, niche. You have to be niche sexual. Your pronouns have to be B2B and B2C, right? Because as a copywriter, the course of a copywriter is the ability to sell anything to anyone, anywhere, at any time. All right. And not only that, how can you pick a niche when you have no experience, right? Like I said earlier, you don't know anything about, let's say you want to write for SaaS. How much do you know about the SaaS business when you're a brand new copywriter? How much do you know about SaaS marketing when you're a brand new copywriter? Sure, you can learn, but then, how can you decide whether or not that niche is right for you, that you're going to be able to make an impact, right? And so the right way to pick a niche as a copywriter is to niche down at the campaign level, where instead of saying you're an email copywriter for an e-commerce business or a SaaS business or a home services, so in this example, instead of saying something like that, you create a cold outreach campaign and reach out to and you contact home services businesses with specific messaging for those businesses. And that's what I mean by niching down at campaign level or at the outreach level. Okay. So here's what's not an offer. Email marketer for e-commerce brands doing 1 million in annual revenue. That's not an offer. That's more of a positioning statement or a value statement. Okay. This is also not an offer. I help heart-centered soulpreneurs ignite and inspire their audience to open their wallet chakras with non-salesy copy. This is also not an offer. This is a statement of value or a value proposition. This is what an offer really looks like. I will write you a 5 email cart abandonment sequence for $500, email copy only, no design, delivery in 48 hours, no need to get on a call, your online content, i.e. website, social media, etc., everything we need. Okay, here's another offer. I can write you a 4 email abandoned cart flow that will beat yours. I'll only invoice you if I beat your flow by at least 50%, meaning if your flow recovers 50 out of 100 carts, mine has to recover at least 75. All right, and here's another offer. I will write you 10 ads with creatives for $100. If they bomb, I'll write you 10 more at no additional charge. So that's what an offer is. And an offer is a specific solution with a specific outcome in a specific time frame. It has a particular type of packaging, and there's risk reversal. Okay, and packaging refers to, instead of selling email marketing, you sell, for example, if this is for e-commerce, you sell a package of core flows, which is abandoned cart, browse abandonment, site abandonment, win back flows, all of the flows that you need for an e-commerce business. You sell it as a package. And that's a way of selling more work at one time and actually getting a better result for the prospect as well. That's what packaging means. And risk reversal is exactly what it says, is how do you reduce the risk on the part of the prospect so that they'd be more inclined to hire you. So to recap, niche your campaigns, not your business. All right. And what that means is you're not a copywriter for SaaS companies. You will write a cold outreach campaign selling email marketing to SaaS companies. But in general, you are a copywriter, somebody who can sell anywhere to anyone at any time. Okay. Before picking your niche, it's helpful to write broadly at first, because eventually your niche will find you. So I'm still a generalist copywriter, but it just so happens that our biggest successes are in email marketing. So the people who are reaching out to me, when past clients refer people to me, the inbound leads that I get, they tend to be for email marketing, right? And so that's what I mean by the niche will find you. Not only that, as you continue to write, you will find that you incline more towards certain types of copy, towards certain types of niches. For example, you might find that you enjoy writing Facebook ads more than other types of copy. You might find that you enjoy writing for the self-improvement niche more than rather than other niches. So that's what I mean by your niche will find you. You want to create and sell offers that are a complete solution to a problem and not just a one-off kind of service that's either article writing or writing website copywriting or something like that. When you're selling, say you're a copywriter, right? You want to sell copy for the entire website, okay? And if you can find a way to partner with someone to handle the design and implementation, that's what I mean by a complete offer. So the offer is a website that gets them leads and clients. And this there's no way to avoid this, because if you're a new copywriter, you're going to offer more for less. So that might mean you might have to lower your prices. For example, OCN, when she started out, she was writing product descriptions for $10, right? And then every new client she got, she was increasing the price, $20, $40, $50, and so on. All right. So you might have to charge less. You might have to do more pieces of work for a certain amount of money. You might have to offer money back guarantees. All right. When you're new, when you have no experience and no results, you're going to have to, the risk reversal is going to have to be pretty strong, and the perceived value will have to be much higher in order for you to get the job. So now we're going to go into how to write the perfect cold email in DM. All right. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover whether or not you want to do cold emails, cold DMs, or both. We're going to cover intangibles that affect your response rate. That is whether or not people will reply to you. And we're going to cover how to write a cold email or cold DM that gets replies. So whether you should go with email or DM. If the person that you're reaching out to has a social media account, it's better to start on cold DMs and then move to email. All right. And the reason why I recommend this is that with email, you have to deal with deliverability. Okay. And you don't know whether your email gets to that person's inbox. However, with a cold DM, you're pretty much certain to get in their inbox. Either it'll go into their main inbox or it'll go into their message requests. And most people, they check their message requests either whether it's regularly or sporadically anyways. So they're going to see it, okay? As opposed to with the email, you have no idea whether they see it or not, all right? You can send, if you do decide to go with cold email, you can send 30 to 50 cold emails per day manually without triggering spam filters. And you don't need email automation. You don't need email automation software for cold emails specifically. And again, if you're sending 30 to 50 emails a day, you don't need more than that, to be honest, because you're not somebody who's doing cold email at scale, and you can only add, realistically, you can only add 2 to 4 new clients per month anyways. So you don't need to do high volume email sending or even cold DMs. LinkedIn has a connection request every week of 100, and you can increase that to 200 per week by raising your social selling index on the platform. And that's some sort of, you can actually look up the LinkedIn social selling index, and you can check your own profile social selling index, and you can also increase it by taking certain actions on the platform. And if you have a high social selling index, you can connect with up to 200 people per week. And then all of the platforms have daily DM limits. So for Twitter, it's 500. For Facebook, it's 150. And for Instagram, it's 50 to 100. All right. So in this case, LinkedIn has the lowest DM limits because you can only add 100 to 200 people per week. But it makes up for this drawback by having, it's more likely you're able to reach people when they're in business mode and they're in the frame of mind to do business, as opposed to other platforms where people use it for all sorts of things, not just professional reasons. When you reach out to someone, the first thing that they're going to do is Google you. All right, that's the first thing that they're going to do. That's another reason why I suggest going with the DM over the email, because with the DM, they can click through your profile and look through your profile. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to review your profile to figure out, are you a real person? Do you look professional? Are you cool? Are you an asshole? Do you look like somebody I want to do business with? Do you have your shit together? And are you an adult, basically? All right. And if the answer is no to all of these things, you're pretty much giving them the ick. All right. So something as simple as your social media profile photo on LinkedIn, or your LinkedIn profile photo. Is it a professional picture with good lighting that has a clear view of your face, with you dressed in, at the very least, business casual attire? Okay, with a clean background that's not got any weird shadows and things like that. Something as simple as that can be the difference between getting ignored or getting your DM replied to. Yeah, and I've seen Copyskills members. I've seen a ton of your LinkedIn profiles, and many of your LinkedIn profiles, they could use some work in just from the picture alone. Let alone leave aside the content of the profile. Just from your profile picture alone, there's a lot that can be improved. Okay. And if they Google you, what comes up when they Google you? Do you own your own domain? Okay. Do you own, for example, I own my own website, nabilaziz.com. All right. Do you own yourname.com? Does that come up as the first result? Do your social media profiles come up with the same result? If they can't find anything about you online, or they find something that's not appealing, they're just going to ignore you, and you're not going to hear about it, and you'll lose the job, and you won't even know why. And we're going to go over an example like that in a second. So this is what an optimized social media profile looks like, and both of these ladies have guest lectures inside Copyskills. Shreya has the LinkedIn personal branding guest lecture that you can go through, and Michelle has the social selling over DMs guest lecture that you can go through. So you can see good picture, face is clearly visible, professionally dressed. And this is what an optimized social media profile looks like, right? And you can read the profile descriptions on your own. So like I said, with LinkedIn, you have the opportunity of keyword stuffing a little bit, because LinkedIn SEO is good. So you can see Shreya's got ghostwriter, Twitter, content writer, creator, that kind of thing. And then you can add hashtags about stuff that they talk about. All right. And so that's very easy. When people search for copywriters, it's easy for you to get your name at least on the search results, if not in the first page. And so that's why I recommend, when you're starting out with social media, if you want to start out with LinkedIn, that's probably your best option, as opposed to the other platforms. And here's what I mean by people Googling you and you not showing up. So this was an inbound lead that came to me, and they didn't have the budget to pay my rates. So I referred them to another copywriter. Okay. And I referred them to OCN. And then a few weeks later, they come back to me and they said, hey, we got the budget now. We're ready to get started. Are you free? Are you able to do this job for us? And so this is the conversation that happened. First, I asked her what was the issue with the copywriter I recommended. And she said, we checked her work online, but the team couldn't build the conviction, which is stupid, because all she had to do was DM OCN, and OCN could have sent her portfolio. Okay, pretty obvious, right? If you can't find anything online. But no, they didn't do that. I guess they wanted to work with me, really. But still, what I said was, I told you I've worked with her for years and she's qualified and trustworthy. I asked, and I already knew the answer to this question. Did you reach out to her and start a conversation? And they hadn't even DM'd OCN. Okay. And I turned down this gig. I turned down this job, even though it was easy money, because I don't want to work with stupid people. And this person is clearly stupid. All she had to do was DM OCN to get the portfolio. However, having said that, OCN lost this job herself by not having an online presence that's optimized for her copywriting business, right? She didn't have her website isn't updated. Her social media profiles, one of them is anonymous, and it's not optimized for social selling for the type of copy that she writes. And so it's pretty obvious when somebody looks for OCN or Madam Marketing online, nothing's going to show up. and there's no proof of work available online. And so that's the first place that people are going to look. Right, so this is a graph that was published by a software or a business called Lavender, and they analyzed 100 million cold emails and got this, they created this graph. So this is what you see is reply rate versus word count. So you can see that the longer an email gets, the lower the reply rate is, and the less likely people are to reply to you. And so we've been going over cold emails, people's cold email scripts for weeks in the office hours. And we keep telling you to shorten the emails, and this is why. Okay, if your email is under 50 words long, you get 60% more replies than an email with over 150 words. All right, so that's pretty obvious. So here's the perfect cold outreach message. All right, so with if you're sending a cold email, there's obviously going to be a subject line, and you can use something like quick question or the no subject line. And here with the no subject line, you have to actually type out open brackets, no subject, close brackets, something similar, and other subject lines that are very simple, like their first name X, your first name, or their first name X, your company name, or their company name X, your company name, subject lines like that. Because remember, the only job of the subject line is to get them to open the email. Okay, and then the only job of the email body copy is to get them to reply. So those are the only things that you need to do. The ultimate goal is only to get a reply. Okay, subject line, quick question, or something very simple that is proven that just works. Now there's a caveat with quick question. If you're doing cold outreach in an industry that people commonly get cold emails for, they've likely seen quick question hundreds of times, and they're likely going to tune it out. So there you have to get a little bit more creative with your subject line. However, with a lot of industries, especially industries that don't get a lot of cold email, quick question will still print money. All right. And so now we go into the body copy of your email or your DM, and this is optional, is a personalized first line that offers a genuine compliment or says something insightful. Now be careful here, and this is why I say it's optional. No personalized first line is better than a bad personalized first line. Okay, if your personalized first line looks contrived or insincere, it loses its effectiveness completely. Okay, so that's why it's optional. So make sure if you're going to send a personalized first line, do a little bit of research and say something that is actually valuable. Okay, and then in the next line, you'll make an offer, and we've already gone over what an offer is. Okay, make a clear offer, something that solves a big enough problem, something that they need solved. Then include a one-sentence case study, and finally a call to action that asks them to reply. No links. Just say something like "Let me know?" ? Or "Are you interested?" ? Something like that. If you don't have case studies, just be honest. Just make sure that you are honest with them and say, "Listen, I'm a brand new copywriter. I'm looking to get my start in this in copywriting, and I'm just looking for somebody to give me a shot." And then, as long as you make a good offer, they're going to at the very least reply to you. Also, if you don't have any case studies or results, you might have to, in some situations, do some work on spec and send it to them. So say you're an email copywriter, you might write 1 or 2 emails for them and send it their way. Okay, or you say, "Hey, I've written 2 emails to send to your list to sell your product. Let me know if I can send it over." Okay, very simple. And so this is not a script, this is a framework. And so you can see that this framework has an email, cold email or a cold DM that is 3 lines long minimum, and 4 at the most. 4 to 5 at the most. All right. And if this framework applies even if you're doing a DM. Again, optional, personalized first line, make an offer, include a one-sentence case study, and a call to action that invites them to reply. All right. Here's an example of a recent cold email that one of our Copyskills members sent. So here's Fahim saying, "This is an ice cold email because I genuinely appreciate the work you're doing. Did happen to notice a couple of missed opportunities in your abandoned cart sequence, though. I was casually browsing the other day. At the risk of sounding arrogant, I can write you a 4 email sequence that will perform better and get back lost revenue from nearly 70% of your first-time shoppers. What do you say? Question mark. P.S. I'll only invoice you if my sequence beats your current sequence by at least 50%, which means if your current sequence recovers 50 carts out of 100, you'll only pay me if I recover 75 out of 100. Now, this, and I think the subject line for this email was, "This might interest you, first name." Okay? So this is a good cold email. One, there he's acknowledging that it's the cold email immediately, and then he's offering a compliment. And just by the word genuinely, it seems more genuine. Okay? Even though really it's a bullshit first line. But that's okay. Then he goes into the offer. Okay, he points out a problem, and then he mentions that he can solve the problem. Okay, and he does risk reversal. I don't know if the blurred here is a case study, but in any case, I don't see a case study here. But even though he doesn't have a case study, he covers that with the risk reversal. Okay, and this was this email was the one that I showed you that they got a response to, where the business owner or the marketing manager, whoever it was, said, "Hi Fahim, we get a ton of emails like this, so we can't reply. I like the fact that you put your money where your mouth is." Right? Here's another example of a cold DM. This is one that I sent to Danny Postma on Twitter. He's a SaaS founder. So very simple. I will write you a 5 email abandoned cart sequence for $500. Email copy only, no design, delivery in 48 hours. No need to get on a call. Your online content, website, social, etc. has everything we need. And those of you in Copyskills, you know that the full case study of this is available in the playbook section. And you know that this was me doing warm outreach. It's not cold outreach. We could even call it room temperature outreach. After seeing Danny say that he's looking for a copywriter, and he noted down his criteria of what he wants from this copywriter. So all I did was repeat what he wants back to him, and that ended up getting a job. So here's an example of a cold email that got a reply, even though it breaks all the rules. Now, I'm not going to read through the entire email, and there's a lot of issues wrong with the email. It's not a good email in general. Just the tone, a lot of the tone aspects are off, and it's far too self-indulgent. And nevertheless, it got a reply from me. Why? Because even if you have no offer, no experience, and no case studies, if you can convey an element of sincerity, enthusiasm, the fact that you give a shit and that you're willing to do whatever it takes, you will still get a shot. Okay, and that's even if your email is bad. Okay, because at the end of the day, people are generally they want to be helpful, and they're looking to be helpful. You just have to give them that opportunity by showing them that you are for real and you're not faking the funk. All right. So, what was communicated to me here, or what I ended up feeling, was a little bit of sender's sincerity. And despite the fact that this email isn't a good email, that it breaks a lot of the rules of sending a good cold email, I still replied to this person. All right. To recap, if you conduct yourself like a professional, people will want to do business with you. All right. And that's just like normal human psychology. Okay. And the first thing that people are going to do when they hear from you is they're going to either Google you, or if it's a DM, they're going to click through your profile and read through your profile. If they can't find anything relevant relevant about you, or they don't like what they find, you're going to lose the deal without them saying anything. They're either going to ignore you or ghost you, or you just won't hear about it. The perfect cold email starts with an offer. It shows proof, and it's the start of a conversation. You're not trying to close the sale in the first email itself, in the first outreach itself. You're just there to get them to reply and start a conversation. And finally, even if your copy sucks, If you can convey enthusiasm and sincerity without seeming desperate, you still might get a shot. Here's part 6, selling over DMs. What we're going to cover is how to qualify prospects and handle objections, how to follow up with class so as you don't look annoying, and then the 4 buying archetypes and how to sell to them. And for this 4 buying archetypes, like I said at the beginning of the workshop, I'm going to drop the link to a YouTube video in the chat, and you're going to watch it and come back, because the Circle live stream is not like Zoom. And when I play a video while streaming on Circle, you're not going to hear the sound. So for qualifying prospects, okay, when you make a good offer, you won't have to do a sales call. It's just going to be, hey, I like this one, can we get started? That's the ideal scenario, okay? Or send me the invoice, the ideal scenario. But in general, as long as you're making a good offer that offers a specific solution and outcome in a specific time frame, packaged the right way, and reverses risk, there's really nothing to talk about. It's just whether they want to go ahead or not. Okay. If anything does need discussing, however, you want to do most of the questions and answers back and forth over emails or DMs. The only time that you want to get on a call is when you're doing a final Q&A when they're ready to buy. And this also helps if you're not comfortable with your spoken English. If you're not comfortable with your spoken English, you need to really get good at making offers that people want to buy without a sales call, because that's going to be your hidden advantage to cover for the disadvantage you have of not being able to speak English well. Okay, and when you're qualifying prospects, make sure that you ask them a lot of questions to understand the business and understand them, because you're looking for red flags. You're looking for red flags for the in the prospect that's going to make you decide not to do business with them. Here's an example of some of the questions that I ask if I have a prospect who's interested in email marketing. Okay, now you sell email marketing, you might want to ask these questions, or if you sell any other kind of copy or you're doing another kind of project, you'll have to adapt these questions to the type of copy that you write. So, for example, how many email subscribers do you have? How often do you email them? What's your email service provider? Do you have basic automation set up? How much traffic does your website get? How do you get traffic to your site? Is it organic or paid? What's your conversion rate? What's your average order value? And what's your monthly marketing budget? So these are some questions that I ask before I continue the conversation. Sometimes even before I quote the price, I'll ask these questions, just so I know that the person is serious, because if they don't know the answer to these questions, or they give you low quality answers to these questions, it's sort of a red flag. And it tells me that they don't have a handle of, they don't have a proper understanding of their business or the numbers of their business. When you're qualifying prospects over DMs or emails, try to do one message or question at a time. Okay, wait for a response before your next message. Sometimes when I send a lot of questions like this, I'll tell them, or I'll ask them first, hey, I've got a few questions about your business. Is it all right if I send them over? There are about 5 to 10 questions, and I don't want to surprise you with just like a big dump of questions in my message. Usually they'll say yes, and then you can send the questions over all at once, rather than asking these one by one. While you're qualifying over DMs, just like the fact that you're going to send thousands and thousands of DMs to get a client, just understand that qualifying prospects and having a sales conversation over DM is going to take a little bit longer than getting on a sales call. The benefit of a sales call is that it compresses this conversation into like 30 to 45 minutes, okay? But sales calls themselves are a separate skill. And if you're a copywriter, it's unlikely that you've taken any kind of sales training, right? So the more you can have a sales conversation over DM without getting on the phone, the better it is for you, and technically the more business you close, provided you're doing everything else right. This is important, that you need to understand where you are in the pecking order. We had this one copywriter in Copyskills where he's no longer a member, but he would not understand the value that he's bringing to the table, and he tended to overestimate his value, and because of this, he lost a lot of business. And this has happened to me. It happens to everybody, There have been situations where I've been in a negotiation for closing a client, and everything is going pretty well, but then I overestimate or quote too high a price, or I give them some indication that I'm going to be difficult to work with, and I ended up losing the deal, right? So remember that, especially if it's a cold outreach situation where you're the one reaching out to them and not the other way around, understand the hierarchy, understand the power dynamics, and don't get ahead of yourself. Okay. And the corollary to this is, when they give you bad vibes, listen to your gut. If a prospect is giving you the feeling like they're going to be a difficult client, or they're going to be a hassle to work with, or it's going to be difficult for them for you to get paid by them, just listen to your gut. It's a little bit difficult in the beginning when you don't have any experience, because your gut, or that kind of thing, intuition, is a product of experience, and when you have no experience, you have no intuition. However, there will be sometimes indications where you'll figure out, like, okay, this is weird. Why is he acting this way? Okay, why is he acting this way? And then those are the times when you might need to listen to it. And also, it's going to be hard to listen to your intuition when you don't have a lot of work, right? And you don't have any clients, and this might be your first client. So there's that fear of missing out going on as well. But if your gut tells you that this is going to be a bad person to work with, usually your gut is right. So here's how a sales discussion goes when everything goes perfect, when you make a good offer that somebody wants to buy. So here's that same DM from Danny, 5 email abandoned carts equals to 500. No need to get on a call, okay? He says, Slick, do you have any examples? And I sent him the examples, and then immediately his response is, deal, let's do it, okay? And then you can see invoice sent, invoice paid. And you can see 9:13 a.m. and is when I sent the invoice. He paid it on 9:29. When we DM'd him, it was 8:13. So from DM to invoice was 1 hour, and then he paid the invoice immediately. Okay, that's what happens when you make a good offer. So when you get good at making offers, you're going to be a better likelihood, or a bigger likelihood, of you having conversations like this. This is the opposite of, so like I said, when business owners are busy, this is me trying to close Dan Henry. Now, this isn't all follow-up emails. A lot of these emails were after I closed the client. But you can see, like, I think I only closed the deal or decided to work together after like the 13th or 14th, maybe 15th. I think it was something much more than that, like 70 emails or something like that, back and forth. We went back and forth. Then we booked a call. We had a sales call, and then I followed up with him. He got busy, and it took several follow-ups before he said yes to the deal. And it was like more than a month of following up back and forth. I think I got introduced in something like April, and then it was like May before I closed the deal with him. All right. So just keep that in mind. This is what I mean when I say it takes as long as it takes. All right. And sometimes these business owners prefer this because they're so busy, they don't have time to get back to you. And so when you try to push it, when you try to speed it up and do it on your timeline by forcing them to get on a call and hard closing them and things like that, they don't like it. They want to work on their schedule because they have so many things going on, and they have, like I said, their goals are quarterly and yearly, and your goals are day to day, right? So here's what here's a way to, like, before sending the qualifying questions, something I'll say. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions about your current email marketing efforts? They're like 5 to 10 questions. So I want to get a yes before sending them your way and surprising you. All right. And then usually they'll say yes, and then you can send all of the questions and you get a better response back. After Fahim sent his cold email that got a response, this was one of the responses that the prospect sent back. Now, there's a ton of red flags in this, because one, he's talking too much. All right. And there's really this is like the first email back from the person after a cold email, and so, like, what do you have to talk so much about? Not only that, he's he's flexing on a freelancer. So like, who flexes on a freelancer, right? He's like, incidentally, this is how I built such and such company into the largest digital technology and services company in the world. Like, who says that? Okay, hey, this is like some random freelancer who you don't know, who just cold DM'd you or cold emailed you out of the blue, and then you go through all of this, like you send this long response back. Okay, like this guy's response has a bunch of red flags in it. However, it's a small project. It's a discrete, it's a concrete project that's well defined, and the outcome is also defined for success or failure. And so it's not so big a deal because it's just one project, and Fahim should be able to deliver it without too many issues. Okay, this issue of a mutual NDA, like how much damage to your business is a freelance copywriter going to do when all they're doing is writing a few abandoned cart emails? And to this point of signing NDAs, my recommendation is that you don't sign NDAs until and unless you have a conversation with them saying that, or asking them whether or not you'll be able to share the results of your work in order to get more additional clients. Because that's the main way you're going to be getting work, is by showing the results that you've gotten for other clients. So if the NDA prevents you from doing that, don't sign the NDA. There's one Copyskills member, Ricardo. He works for an agency, and the agency has him on NDA, so he can't share anything about what he's doing for that agency. Even when he's on the office hours with me, he can't share any details about the results that he's getting or the clients that he's working for because of the NDA. And so just imagine that completely hamstrings him and makes it very, very difficult for him to get clients, because he might be writing the most amazing copy in the world, but he can't share results, and he can't even share examples of the copy, right? So don't sign an NDA unless it's a very specific NDA that still allows you to share the results of your work, even if that's anonymized results of your work with other people, so that you can get clients. Okay. Anyway, so this is the result of sending a good offer, and you'll have to deal with these people sometimes, but still, it got a reply, and they ended up closing the deal. And Fahim is working on the project right now. And hopefully he's going to deliver some good abandoned cart emails and crush their conversion rate. And think about it, even if he doesn't beat their current abandoned cart rate, he still has a story or a result to tell other people, right? Because it takes balls to make an offer like this. One thing that I wanted to mention about making risk reversal promises. So in Fahim's case, the promise was, or the risk reversal was, that he will not invoice unless he beats their current abandoned cart by 50%. That actually is quite a large percentage, okay? And maybe for the next round of cold emails, we might need to adjust that percentage down to like 30% or 25% or something like that, or even 20%, okay? Because 50% is actually a huge increase. So you have to be mindful of that fact and be careful about what promises you make or claims you make to prospects, right? Don't say something like, I'm going to double your business, or I'm going to triple your conversions, or something like that, when you can't deliver, okay? Because that's just going to make it, it's you're not going to get paid if it's a performance only deal, and two, you're going to end up feeling bad because you failed for no reason, because you didn't have a proper capacity to estimate your capabilities, right? But in this case, I do think that Fahim has at least the ability or the opportunity to meet those performance guarantees, because it's an abandoned cart sequence, and the project is small enough that 50% increase is not totally out of the ballpark. So sometimes when the prospects give you a bad vibe, you have to exit the conversation or pass on the job. So I showed you one example before of that lady who I referred to OCN, and she didn't even DM OCN to get the portfolio. So that was like a red flag right there. This person is incompetent. I don't want to do business with them. Okay. Here's another, when they're giving you bad vibes in the way they communicate, you don't have to tolerate it, right? So this guy was kind of being a bit weird with me when we were negotiating. Like, he was asking me like stupid questions about about the price and how we do the work and things like that. So I sent him one of my case studies, and he was like, "Listen, man, I'm not going to watch this 30-minute video." So this was my response. I'm going to be honest as well. The way you've been communicating has given me a bad vibe. Normally, I wouldn't say this out loud, but basically triggered the 500% asshole tax. So I told him I'm charging him a premium. Instead of the 2,000, it's going to be 10,000. Because I quoted the price initially as 2,000, and because he was annoying me, I'm going to raise the price to 10,000 because you're annoying me, because you gave me bad vibes. All right. And the funny thing is, even if he had paid it 10,000, he still would have gotten an ROI if we had gotten results for him. Anyways, that's the fun way to exit the conversation. Obviously, you're not going to do that most of the time. You're just going to exit the conversation and be like, with respect, I'm going to pass on this job. It's not a good fit right now. That's really all you have to say. Here's another example of somebody giving me bad vibes. So he says, "Assalamu alaikum, brother, straight to the point. How can you help us?" So he's like, he's trying to, in this case, he's trying to assert dominance over me. And with a cold DM, it's really not, it doesn't read the room very well. And it's not a good way to start a conversation or even any kind of relationship whatsoever. So I just reversed it back on him, and he said, "You tell me." I told him, "You tell me." And this guy didn't end up being a client because I kind of got the idea that he's wasting my time. Yeah. So don't be afraid to reverse on the clients when they try to be funny with you. Okay. Be chill, be easy to work with, be easy to deal with. But when they start to try to take advantage of you, like, you don't have to deal with it. They're not paying you any money yet, so you don't have to deal with any of their bullshit. Another example where, like, prospects, here's what I mean by prospects not knowing what the hell they're talking about. Okay. So this is a prospect, or this is actually a former client. I did some work for them. I wrote some taglines for their product packaging. And he comes back to me and he says he wants to do some abandoned cart emails. Okay. And he wants to test a designed designed email templates versus plain text emails. All right. And he's got this fancy kind of workflow chart that he's drawn up, and he saying, the brief would be to create a text-only direct response style email flow for abandoned checkout, which will be split testing against a designed abandoned checkout flow. Although happy to hear your counterpoints to best number or type of emails in the flow with any data you have. So like, this guy is just, this is so stupid, right? And okay, so immediately he doesn't understand how testing works, because with testing you need to have a certain amount of volume to achieve statistical significance. And when you're testing, you can't test. You have to make sure that you only testing one variable at a time, and all the other variables are controlled for. Now I realize that this guy is talking out of his ass. So my response was, and I already knew a little bit about this business that they're new and they don't have the volume necessary to test an abandoned checkout flow. So my questions were, how many sales are you getting daily? How many abandoned carts are you getting daily? Okay, and I already knew the answers to this question. So his response was 0 and 0. This is the new brand we haven't launched yet. And so this was my way of exiting the conversation. I just told him, listen, A/B testing and your abandoned cart isn't a good use of your time or money. Okay. Don't be afraid to call prospects out on their bullshit when they don't know what they're talking about. Here's an example of being a little bit flexible or asking good questions during the qualification process that helps you, one, to close the deal, and also end up getting more work down the line. Okay. This was an inbound DM. It wasn't cold outreach. Okay. So he says, "Hi, Nabil. I've seen some brilliant copy from your email marketing on Twitter. I'm curious if you're available and what you charge for a seven email welcome or conversion series and a 3 email abandoned cart sequence." So I say, hey, what's your AOV or ARPU? And here's where I talk about understanding the business. Okay. The more you understand about how a SaaS business, this guy's running a SaaS, how a SaaS business or an e-com business operates, the better the questions you're going to be able to ask. So just the question, what's your ARPU or average revenue per user, that indicates to the prospect that I have some understanding of the way SaaS operates. So that immediately tells him that I know what I'm talking about. So that's just an easy way of adding credibility. And it doesn't take that long to have this sort of, or doesn't take that much work to develop this understanding. It just takes a little bit of research, okay? So he gives me the answer. I quote him for the 10 emails, 3,000. That's, above his budget, okay? He says, that's currently out of my budget. And then I reply with, what sort of budget are you working with, or how much are you willing to invest? You can quote a higher price than you're comfortable with, because if their budget is lower, you can adjust the deliverables to match their budget. Okay, it's very simple. Yeah, yes, there's a price per deliverable. Okay, and if they can't pay for all of the deliverables, just reduce the deliverables, right? So his budget is 1,000. I said, I'll give you 5 emails for that amount. Okay, I deliver the work. Okay, and you can see the arrows pointing. So that's right. So we agreed on the emails. I sent the invoice. He paid the invoice immediately. All right. And then I delivered the emails on the second line. You can see that. And then I said to him, with our onboarding call and all the resources you sent me, we have material for several more emails. So whenever you like, you can order more. Okay. And he liked the emails, the work that I delivered so much that he suddenly found an extra 2,000 euro to buy some more emails, even though he said that 1,000 was his budget. Okay. And so that ended up in me doubling the value of this project just by asking a few good questions, being a little bit flexible, and delivering good work. Okay, follow-up. All right, so this is about follow-up. So this is how you follow up without looking desperate or annoying your prospects. Okay, here's one example. Hold on one second. So this was a lead, and we had a conversation over DMs about some emails that we were going to write for them, and he ended up going cold. So you can see from this first response, hey, Scott, you left me hanging. What happened? Did you lose interest? All right. And that's usually the first follow-up message that I'll ask. And usually somebody most people will reply. Well, not most, but some people reply because they don't want to feel like they are somebody who just ghosts people and leaves them hanging, right? So then what I do is, you can see from the dates here, this was July 15th, okay? And then July 27th, August 4th, and this one is, I can't remember what date this is. But what I do is every few days or every few weeks, I send them a follow-up with some new work that I'm doing or some results I've gotten for clients. And I do this, every week, every other week, whatever the cadence is. And I'm just telling them about all the stuff that I'm doing for my other clients. And I don't say anything about the project that he ghosted me on. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm creating a sense of FOMO on his part. And he's going to feel like, oh shit, I missed the boat with this guy. I wonder if he's still available. So all you got to do is keep showing up with the good work that you're doing and the results that you're getting. And you don't even have to ask them whether they want to continue the project. Yes, you can if you want to, but just two things helps with is, one, you're staying top of mind, and you're staying top of mind without annoying the prospect. And two, it creates a sense of FOMO. And then obviously as well, because you're sharing results, it increases your authority and credibility in their eyes. Yeah. So every few days, maybe once a week, if you have results to share, or every couple of weeks, you just send them the results and give them an update. I got this tactic from something that David Ogilvy used to do. He used to keep a list of his dream clients that he wanted to work with, and every so often he'd send them newsletters or mail, or with stuff that his agency was up to. New clients they've gotten, awards they've won, new work that they're doing, new insights from the work that they're doing, and things of that nature. So this is a way to follow up with people without and while following up with some of these prospects, they've actually replied. They'll say, hey man, thanks for sending this. I still haven't forgotten about our project. We're going to get it going sometime soon, blah, blah, blah. It's that right now we don't have the budget for it. I get replies like that. All right, so to recap, a good offer removes the need for a sales call, because all of the uncertainty is taken away, or much of the uncertainty is taken away by clarifying the terms of the offer. Okay. While qualifying them over emails or DMs, remember that you are qualifying them, not the other way around. The qualifying questions are as important for you as it is for them, because their answers will help you identify whether or not this is a person that you want to do business with. And anytime you have red flags, don't ignore them. So when you're and then moving on to follow up, all right, when you're following up, you want to follow up with value. And I'm not saying value in the quote unquote value, like the woo term value. Send them stuff that's really actually valuable. Send them results that you're getting for other clients. Send them insights that you have from the work that you've been doing. Send them interesting articles that are relevant to the business that they're in, that they might enjoy reading. And so by doing that, you don't look needy, you don't look desperate, you stay top of mind, and you build credibility with the person that you're reaching out to. And then understanding the personality of the person that's going to do the buying, or understanding their buying personality when you're trying to sell to them, is it's going to help you to adapt your sales process to them. So with somebody who's an analytical, you just be direct, factual, by the numbers, that kind of thing. With somebody who's an expressive or an amiable, you'll need to take a more involved, high-touch approach and build a relationship before making the ask or making the pitch, right? So understanding their buying personality will help you adapt and sell to them better. And then finally, like I said earlier, the only way to get better at sales is by practice. So the more offers you make, the more sales calls you get on, even though we're not trying to get on sales calls right now. The more offers you make, the more qualifying you do over DMs, the more objections you handle over DMs, that kind of thing, the better you get. Okay. And again, we can do an entire workshop on sales, but this is just about cold outreach. This workshop is about cold outreach and things of that nature. Also, we already have a guest lecture on sales calls in the community. We had the how to run a sales call lecture by Rogue Wealth that was uploaded a month ago. Not only that, we have the social selling, how to sell in DMs, guest lecture by Michelle Terpstra. That's also in the guest lecture section. So you have two detailed trainings on how to run sales, whether that's selling over DMs or selling on sales calls. Okay, so make sure that you go through those and apply what you learn to selling your copywriting services. And here's the final module, part 7, taking their money. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover tools for invoicing clients, and then we're going to cover how to invoice them. Now, the most important thing here is we have a guest lecture by Jay McConey about how to get paid, where he talks about this in detail. So again, you go watch that, right? And then for social selling and social media, we have Shreya's lecture where she talks about building a personal brand on LinkedIn. So guest lectures are all tied to this workshop here, and you can applying the strategies in this workshop plus applying the strategies in the guest lectures I've told you about. You'll get much better results, because those lectures talk about in detail what I haven't talked about in this workshop. So see, the idea of getting people to pay you is probably the most intimate act, more intimate even than sex, because they're opening up their wallet and they're giving you their debit or credit card details, or they're giving you their cash. And so that is something that requires a lot of trust and a lot of certainty. And the reason why you aren't getting your invoices paid on time, or you're getting ghosted, or clients will not pay you in advance, is because you haven't made it easy for them to pay you, and you haven't removed the uncertainty for them of paying you, or the risk. So again, here we have another example of the convenience control continuum. And the more convenient it is for them, the less control you have, and the less convenient it is for them. Okay, well, let me say that again. The more convenience you give them, the less control you have, and the less convenience you give them, the more control you have. And then it's similar in the sense that the more convenient it is for them, the riskier it is for you, and the less convenient it is for them, the more risky it is for them as well. Okay, so on this spectrum, we have what's riskier for them and then what's riskier for you. Okay, so when you're invoicing them, you can invoice them via PayPal or Stripe, and that's they're well-known methods to pay. A lot of people get paid using PayPal or Stripe. The only problem is the client can very easily do a chargeback or ask for a refund, or raise a dispute. Okay, and so whenever that happens, PayPal and Stripe are going to lock up your funds. If it gets too bad, they'll be holding your revenue for 21 to 30 days, and they might even shut down your account. So the easier it is for them, that's the easiest it is for them sending you money via PayPal or Stripe. Okay, but it's the most risky for you. Down the line, where it's still easy for them and less risky for you, is a productized or a digital product kind of e-commerce platform like Lemon Squeezy or Gumroad. Lemon Squeezy is better because it's the fees are lower and it's free to use, and you get to set the terms of what kind of refund policy you have, and so that adds a layer of separation between the client and your Stripe account or your PayPal account where you get paid out to, so that they won't be doing a chargeback or a refund or a dispute directly with your Stripe account. So it protects your Stripe account or PayPal that way. Okay. When you start charging bigger project fees like 5K, 7K, 8K, 10K, and more, you would rather do a bank transfer or an ACH transfer or a wire transfer. And for that, it's easier or better for you if you use something like Payoneer or Wise or some other service that's similar. And here it's a little bit more risky for them because they don't have the opportunity to charge back. But now it's less risky for you, and it's more peace of mind for you, because once the money is transferred, it's in your account and you can transfer it out to your bank account. Okay, so if you don't have a Payoneer account, you got to have one of these, either Payoneer or Wise. Depending on which country you're in, Wise might be unavailable to you. I know, for example, if you're in the UAE and you want to start a Wise account, you won't be able to use their multi-currency feature. Payoneer operates in more countries and has more features, but also they have more restrictions on when those features become available to you. But either of these options will do very well for you. So if you have a Payoneer or a Wise, and then you add on a Lemon Squeezy, that pretty much covers all of your, all of the payment options that you would want, that you would need. And then finally, the least risky for you and the most risky for them is a direct transfer into your bank account. But then again, that also depends on where you are. Say, because if your client is in America and you're somewhere in Kenya, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, or Thailand somewhere, the banks will cause issues. Like he'll need to, basically the client is going to have to jump through hoops just to make the transfer, and even then, there's no guarantee that it's going to go through. So it's probably the worst option out of all of these, but it is still an option. Okay, let's say you live in England and your client lives in the US. Doing a bank transfer won't be that difficult because the banks of UK and USA play well together. But if you're living in Bangladesh and your client is in the US, trying to do a bank transfer from a US bank to a Bangladeshi bank or a Bengali bank is going to be an issue, right? So as soon as possible, get set up on Payoneer or Wise. Create productized services on Lemon Squeezy. If you have a Stripe, or you can get access to a Stripe account, depends on what country you're in. Stripe is probably the fastest way to get paid because Stripe has so much social proof and credibility and trustworthiness in the market that a prospect won't think twice about paying a Stripe invoice. Yeah, and it's very easy for you to get paid that way. The only problem is, you have that additional risk of a chargeback if the client is a bad client, right? But if you're vetting them before onboarding them and you're asking all of the qualifying questions and you're making sure that they're a good person to do business with, as much as humanly possible, then you won't run into that issue. I personally have never had a chargeback. I've never had to give a refund. Yeah, I've never had an issue. The only issues have been when clients have refused to pay me. But that has only happened twice. And even then, it wasn't like I did the work and they refused to pay me. They just backed out of the deal. So yeah, this is how you get paid. So how to invoice them? Very simple. There's no discussion to be had. You get paid before you start working. Once they agree to work with you, the very next step is you send them an invoice. Okay? There's no discussion. You don't need to discuss it. You don't need to get their permission. This is just how you work. You don't start work before the invoice is paid. Okay? And for the vast majority of your projects, you're going to be getting paid 100% in advance. The only time I've ever split up an invoice is when the project is over $10,000. Okay? Sometimes you have to be a little bit flexible depending on who you're working with. Say, like for example, I closed this one client $3,000 for a small project, but this is for a new business and he wants to put it on his credit card. So he asked me whether we could split the payment up. And this is a client of mine that we've done several projects in the past. So I was flexible. I said, okay, that's cool, man. We can split the payment up into 2 payments. But otherwise, if it's a new project, a new client, I don't split the payment up or the invoice up unless it's over $10,000. I've gotten up to, I think the highest invoice I got paid in advance was an $8,000 invoice. But yeah, my projects are a little bit smaller. They're not like 25K projects and things like that. So it's not that big of a deal. So you get paid 100% in advance unless the project value is over $10,000. And depending on the client, depending on your experience, you might have to be a little bit flexible about what the thresholds and limits are of when you want to split invoices or get paid 100% in advance. As well as that, the offer that you're making will dictate when and how you invoice. So with Fahim's example, where he's only invoicing if he beats the control with this abandoned cart project, then obviously he can't invoice until he actually delivers the result, right? So the offer you're making can dictate when and how you invoice them. So here's a recap. The easier it is for them to pay you, the more likely you are to get paid. All right, so the more convenient it is, the faster it is, the more likely you are to get paid. And also, the more legit you look, the more likely you are to get paid. So a Stripe invoice is probably the most legit you look because only a legit business can get a Stripe account. Yeah, so that's the most legit you look. So, and that's why people will pay a Stripe invoice very fast as opposed to doing something like a bank transfer. Okay. Again, the corollary to that, you want to stay away from payment processes where chargebacks are easy. So even though Stripe makes you most legit, it's still not the best way to get paid because you can get charged back very easily. My personal favorite is sending a manual invoice and having them transfer, for my US clients at least, having them transfer to a US bank account. Or if the client is in the UK, I'll have them transfer to a UK account. That's my favorite way to invoice people is with an invoice, a manually written invoice that has wise bank details on it that they transfer into. All right, and so here's the summary of the overall workshop. Number one, your only job is getting clients until you get your first 3. After you get your first 3 clients, as long as you do a good job, those 3 clients will introduce you to 2 each. So those 6 clients will introduce you to 12 more clients, and so on. That's the snowball effect of a freelancing career. If you do it right, you will only have to do cold outreach for your first 3 clients. After that, every other client you get can be word of mouth or referral if you do it right. So get your first 3 clients, do an amazing job for them. Ask them, hey, do you know can you introduce me to 2 other business owners who might be able to use my services? And then you're off to the races. Treat freelancing like a job, especially in the beginning, and put in the time and the work, right? So if you're only working 2 hours a day now, you better increase it to 8. You better be putting 8 hours of serious work in per day, at least 5 days a week, so a 40-hour work week, to get your copywriting career up and running. And this doesn't mean 8 hours of writing, because it's not possible to do 8 hours of quality writing. Right now, if you have no clients, you should be doing 7 hours of client acquisition and lead generation, and 1 hour of learning how to getting better at writing copy. Once you get your first client, you might reduce that to 5 to 6 hours of client acquisition and 2 hours of client work and learning, and so on. You want to create no-brainer offers that prospects can buy without getting on a sales call. And then an offer is a specific solution, specific outcome in a specific time frame, packaged the right way with the right risk reversal. Okay. Make sure that your online presence is trustworthy, because the more trustworthy and professional you look, the more likely they are to hire you. And finally, make it easy for people to pay you, so that you can actually, make this a reality, and you're not just LARPing as a copywriter. A copywriter is somebody who gets paid to write words on the internet. If you haven't got paid yet, are you really a copywriter? And the more easy you make it for people to pay you, the more likely the more likely they are to pay you, and the faster they are to pay you. All right. So that is the workshop. And now, thank you for your patience. You can go ahead and ask your questions. We're gonna do 30 minutes of Q&A, and then I'm gonna get off. I have I'm gonna go over this question from Ize. I have Payoneer, but most clients from the Western world prefer PayPal. How can I convince them to use Payoneer? Because the other time I tried, she ghosted me. Don't even mention that you have a PayPal. Just say, listen, this is how I get paid. And again, if you are, make sure the invoice is taken care of first. You just say to the prospect, listen, because of where I live, getting a payment for my clients is a hassle. The way I invoice my clients is via Payoneer. Okay, it's very easy to use. What I'm going to do is, and then you explain the entire process of what's going to happen. The reason why they don't want to use another tool when they're used to something like PayPal or Stripe is because there's a lot of uncertainty around it. Explain the entire process step by step. Okay, I just need to create the invoice. I need your business details and a phone number, or an email address. And then once I do that, you're going to get an invoice in the email. Just click on the button in that email, and then go ahead and pay your invoice. If you explain the process step by step, they'll be more likely to pay you. And don't even mention that you have a PayPal or that you even take money on PayPal, unless it's like you've tried several options and none of them is working. Then you can mention PayPal as a last resort, but don't even mention PayPal. So let's see this question from Arif. Question is the process for building a personal brand the same as a pseudonymous brand? Also, Nabil mentioned that with a pseudonymous brand, you have to pick a starting niche. Does that mean picking a niche campaign or general niching? Okay, good, excellent question. Okay, so the advice that I'm giving you in this workshop is to not start with a niche. Okay, to niche at the campaign level as opposed to niching as a copywriter, as in general niching as a copywriter. So with this idea of creating a pseudonymous brand, you may have to focus on a specific niche for the time being, so that you make it easier for people to identify your online persona with the specific service that you're offering. Okay, so if you want to write SaaS landing pages, then you create your online persona around that service. So you can be SaaS copywriter or something, whatever. That's going to be your online persona. Okay, it's just because you don't have the advantage of revealing your actual person online and showing credibility that way. You have to be a little bit more focused and specific with how you build your personal brand, building your pseudonymous brand. And so the process of building a personal brand and a pseudonymous brand are pretty much the same. It's just that you have to, there are just some minor differences. So for example, with a pseudonymous brand, you will pick the theme for your brand and you will focus on that theme like 80 to 90% of the time. Whereas with a personal brand, it's much easier for you to go off script and talk about your personal life, talk about random topics, things of that nature. If you're a pseudonymous brand, you're pretty much only going to be talking about that one thing, which is good in a way, because you make your social media account just all about business and less about all of the bullshit that people get up to on social media anyways. Got this question from Eddie. Eddie says, I have zero presence on Google search. I'm going to fix up my social media presence and website, but what's the fastest way I can fix this issue otherwise? Yeah, so it's going to take time. Probably the easiest thing to do is owning your name, owning your own domain. So eddiebaroon.com, and then submitting that, like getting the website up and running as soon as possible, and then submitting that to Google Search Console so it gets crawled by Google's search spider, so that your website starts showing up for you. When people search your name, at least your website will start showing up on the first page. It still might take some time. I don't know how many Eddie Baroons there are on the planet, so it might take a little while. But in general, once you own your own name, it's easy for you to rank for your name on Google on the first page, and it should ideally be the first result. And then while doing that, claim your name on all of the social media platforms. So even if you don't post on them, so for example, I have a Pinterest account and I never post to Pinterest, right? Because what you're doing is you're from those social media accounts, you will link to your website, and all of those together, they send social signals that this person is a legit person, and Google will rank you for your name on your social media profiles higher, faster. Munib asks, how to go for a performance-based offer? Should I go for a specific rate or percentage per conversion? Again, this depends on how much you know about the market that you're selling to and the business that you're selling to and the offer you're making. So I can't give you a specific answer for this question. The answer is it depends. If you're selling to an e-commerce brand, your answer will be different. If you're selling to a SaaS, your answer will be different. To a high ticket, your answer will be different. And in general advice for performance pay or commission only jobs, don't agree to commission only or performance pay unless you have full control or majority of control over the outcome. So for example, I'll give you an example where performance pay doesn't work. We were writing emails for one of our clients on performance only. He was giving us 15% of cash collected. All right. And our job was to write emails to his email list and get sales calls booked. Okay. Now we were doing our job. Every month we would send 130 to 160, sometimes 170 calls. Okay. And the problem was with the sales team, because they were closing the sales calls on the phone. Now, I assumed that they would be closing at X percentage as a team. But consistently, almost every month, they would underperform that expectation. And so let's say we were supposed to get paid 5K per month on performance. We ended up getting paid like 2K to 3K. Not because we weren't doing our job. We were doing our job very well. We were getting amazing results for the prospect in terms of booking calls, but because the sales team shit the bed, and because our compensation was tied to some outcome that we didn't control. Okay, so when you're doing performance pay, make sure that it's for an outcome that you control. Now we could have done, had we adjusted the deal to getting paid on how many calls were booked, all right, that would be much better, because we have complete control over how many calls we book, because we're the ones sending the emails. But we don't have control over how the salespeople are doing in terms of their closing rate. Irshad was the one who was writing the emails for this. So yeah, so that's why, like, recently I turned down a prospect who wanted a performance guarantee from me. We were going to write their email automation for a webinar funnel, right? He wanted a performance guarantee from me. And the reason I turned down the job, I said, we don't offer performance guarantees. One, because I have a shitload of case studies, okay? And if the case studies aren't enough for them to be convinced of we're a good option to work with, then really we don't deserve their business anyway. And two, because again, I would have no control over the outcome of revenue generated, because I have no control over the sales process. The only thing I have control over is how the emails perform and how many calls get booked. Solomon asks, what is the best way to find clients who need to fill a copywriter position fast on LinkedIn? If this is already specifically an agency. Okay, so you just look at the job postings for copywriter, look on LinkedIn, and look on Indeed, look on other job sites. You can also, like if you're into the crypto or Web3 or blockchain space, you can look at web3.careers is another website where people post jobs and have job profiles. In fact, I got an inbound lead on Twitter. Somebody sent me a screenshot of my web3.career profile, and he said, is this you? I said, yes. And he said, I've got a job for you. And I turned him down because I don't do full-time or in-house roles, but I got an inbound lead from it. Yeah. So that website is web3.career. So if you want to write in the crypto space, this is a cool place. And you can even search for all of the job postings. So I have tags. If you click on the marketing tag, you can find all of the marketing jobs that are available. So yeah, any job site will do. Indeed, LinkedIn, look for full-time copywriter positions. Be very easy. Obviously, it's not going to be easy, but you will find plenty of positions. Andre says, I have been doing content writing, so I'm not confident in my copywriting skills at all. In addition to resources inside Copyskills, any specific place to learn proper basic copywriting? Yeah, you can join Tate's Real World or Hustlers University Copywriting Campus. However, like I said, Andre, all of the material that you need is online for free. So I don't know how many. Have you read the Boron letters? Have you read Gary Bencivenga's marketing bullets? Have you hand copied emails from swiped.co? Not emails, but just copy in general. Have you been hand copying ads from swiped.co? Have you subscribed to the newsletters of the direct response companies in the niche that you want to write in? Say, for example, if you want to write in the financial niche, how many of their newsletters have you subscribed to? Because they send emails every single day, and you'll learn how to write direct response emails by analyzing their emails. And if you click on the links in those emails, they'll take you to long form promos that you'll be able to write and analyze if you get the transcript or whatever, because there's a VSL usually and also a text sales letter which you can copy paste, right? So how much of that have you done, right? So the question is really how resourceful are you being with what you want to do, okay? And there's plenty of stuff on YouTube as well. Kyle Milligan's YouTube channel is excellent. The Copy That YouTube channel is excellent. They have an excellent course, a 5-hour course on copywriting. Copy That writing course. I'll drop it in the chat right now. Not that one. Give me a second. Let me find it. So like a 5-hour course. And then Lucas Rashevsky has his own masterclass on. I'll post this in the must-read section or the copy critique section. There's a bunch of free courses on YouTube as well, long form. Lucas Rashevsky put the entire version of his mentorship, the course content of his mentorship in a playlist. That's like, I don't know, 15 hours of material. I'll post all of that. So yeah, there's plenty of resources. It's just a matter of you applying them or learning what you need to learn and applying them. That's the one that Kumar posted in the chat. That's the first version of his copywriting mentorship program. It's excellent. And here is the Copy That course, 5 hours of content. All right. So between those two, between everything I just mentioned, there's no reason why you can't become a competent copywriter in like Sean McIntyre suggested, 20 hours of focused practice or focused learning. Yeah, like 20 hours of total, learning time. And if you want to, expand it out, it'll take you less than a month to do that. Okay, let's see who's got more questions. Eddie asks, would podcasts or Medium articles help with juicing up my name for search results? Yeah, if you do more podcast interviews, your name will show up more on search results. Publishing on Medium also can be a good strategy because Medium has excellent SEO, and your articles will show up when people search for your name. That's a good idea. One asks, for the follow-ups, do you follow up until they at least respond back for as long as it takes, or do you have a strict cutoff point? Well, because you're not asking them for anything. There's no cutoff point. You can do it as long as you like. You can follow up with them until they die, because you're not asking them for anything. All you're doing is sending them something valuable. All right, who's got more questions? We've got 20 more minutes for Q&A. Bro, that's Solomon, that's like a stupid question. Ask me questions about how you get clients, man. There is such a thing as a bad question. I don't know, don't believe what your teacher told you. There are things as such as bad questions. This workshop is about helping you get clients. Ask me something related to that. Eze asks, when I was reaching out to a guru, he advised me to find my copywriting voice and not copy others. What is your take on this? So that's interesting, and in general, that is what's going to happen as a matter of course. But it requires experience and reps, and you writing millions of words until you find the way that you uniquely write copy as a wisdom. With any skill that you learn, yeah, any skill really, take drawing or painting, writing, design, maybe even something like coding. Irshad is here rapping, right? If you want to learn how to rap, you're going to start off by copying your influences, all right? Then you'll start by maybe copying one influence, and then you'll start incorporating other influences so that your style is an amalgam of several influences, until eventually you naturally, without even trying, arrive at your style, which is your unique copywriting voice. And in this case, it's your copywriting voice. So it's something that happens over time. It happens with practice. There's nothing that you can do to find it. It's not something that you do on purpose. Who's got more questions specific to client acquisition? Got me here for another 15 minutes. In addition to, I think probably we're gonna do something more detailed on offers, because I think that's probably, that one was the one that's going to be the most important part of this entire process, is coming up with offers. I need to figure out a way what's the best way is to do that. So we'll be doing more stuff on coming up with offers. I don't understand your question, Munib. Munib asks, still confused about performance-based offer. Cash is one thing, but what about the click-through rate? Listen, Munib, you just forget about performance pay. Your number one concern should be, how do I get clients to pay me cash upfront for writing copy? If you have to charge them $1, yeah, that's what you're going to charge them. Okay, don't even think about performance pay. I generally don't recommend copywriters do performance deals. One, unless they know exactly what they're doing. Okay, if you're new, a performance deal doesn't help you at all, because you have no benchmark of performance. You don't know what is good and what is bad. You don't know what's supposed to. You don't know what all the moving parts are affecting your performance of the copy that you're writing. Okay. Not only that, you have no understanding of how to structure a performance pay deal with the client that benefits both parties and mitigates the risk that you're taking as much as possible, because you are taking a risk. So don't waste time thinking about performance pay unless you're making an offer that is very simple and easy to do, where the performance aspect of it is easy to measure and easy to prove. Okay, and again, like I said, this is going to depend on who you're selling to, at what their business is, the market that they operate in, and it's going to depend on your research. The offer that you make depends on who you're selling to. Okay, and so understanding who you're selling to is basically 80% of the job that you're doing. when you understand who you're selling to, whether that's a consulting company or a SaaS company or a coach or a course creator or whoever it is, a local business, when you understand the person that you're selling to, you will be able to make a compelling offer, and that might include some element of performance pay. So again, I can't give you the answer because there is no one answer. What is your take on sending a voice note instead of a DM to a prospective client, especially when you have a pseudonymous brand to establish human connection? Most people don't enjoy listening to voice notes, especially from people they don't know. I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I don't even like listening to voice notes when it's somebody I do know. So there's no reason to send them. Just make sure, and also, okay, not only that, because it's annoying to listen to. Not only that, people tend to ramble when they're sending a voice note. They aren't clear and succinct speakers. So they tend to ramble, they're all over the place, they don't get to the point, and they're going to send like a 2 to 5 minute voice note for something that could have been written and read in 10 seconds. Yeah. Because also remember that people can read faster than they can hear something or hear speech or watch something. It might be a 1 minute voice note, but if it was written clearly and concisely, it takes 10 to 20 seconds to read. 10 to 20 seconds to read. So I don't see the value in sending a voice note. Sure, maybe it'll help, maybe not. I'm not absolutely certain, but I don't think that it gives you an advantage as opposed to a written message. One asks, question, for the follow-up with value, do you share anything other than testimonials and case studies? Yeah, sure. You can send them articles relevant to their industry or their business or stuff that they'll find interesting. You can send them anything really, like book recommendations, something valuable that might be relevant to them. Of course, like you just don't send like frivolous things, because obviously if you don't have a lot of results to share and you're only following up to send them like new articles you found, it's going to be pretty obvious that you're following up just to follow up and not because you have something valuable to share. So just be careful when using this tactic. Like me personally, the only thing that I'm sending them is new client results, or anytime I have some additional social proof, like when I got featured in Harry Dry's Marketing Examples newsletter. So sometimes it might be like you might have updates to send them, 3 times a week or once a week for 3 weeks, but then your next update will be a month or 2 months later because you don't have that much material to send them. That's okay. All you're doing is trying to bring the conversation from the bottom of their inbox to the top of their inbox without saying something like bump. Perfect. So Kumar asks, how did you get the 2 clients by meditating about money? Yeah, okay, excellent. Thank you for reminding me. I totally forgot about that. So this is Ian Stanley's Money Tree Meditation. I'm going to drop the links in the chat. So it's a 15-minute guided meditation. And I did this every day for a month, and I ended up closing 2 of the biggest clients in terms of project values that I have in I think in that I did in like 2021. 2 of the biggest projects. That's one. Money Tree Meditation. And he has another one. Oh, he's got a bunch of meditations. One is called the Second Self. You should do that. That helps you become more creative. But here's this other money meditation. Well, I'm going to link to the channel. So do that first Money Tree meditation every day for 30 days. And suddenly you'll find, it's kind of weird, but you'll find money coming into your life, to be honest. Maybe that's coming in with clients, maybe that's an invoice that gets paid that somebody ghosted you on, like however. It's weird how it works, but it just works. So the one that got me the 2 clients is the first one that I posted. It's called Money Tree Meditation to attract, what's it called? To attract wealth, Ian Stanley. It's going to take me a little while to get the final edited recording of this event up. But if you want to watch the recording, I'll show you guys, and I'll send a DM about this as well. If you want to watch the recording of any event that's been recorded, you can go to past events and click on click on the event. So for example, okay, this wasn't recorded, was it? No, it was no, that wasn't recorded. But anyway, this is being recorded. So after this event, if you go to the member events section or the space, and you have two tabs, upcoming and past. If you click on past, this workshop will show up, and if you click on it, after a while, after the recording has done processing, the recording will show up inside the space. So like if you click on it, you'll see a video posted here in this description area. One asks, how do you structure a case study on the basis of an NDA? You take out any identifying information about the business. And that could be just removing the name of the business. It could be removing the industry. How you present the information, you can present it without, present the numbers or the results without referring to the actual results and referring to percentages only. There's many ways to do it without mentioning the company's name or any identifying information about the company. All right, so that's going to be our last question. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for paying attention and staying for the whole 3 hours. Appreciate you coming. The recording will be available to watch. It's going to take maybe an hour or two for the recording to be processed, but it'll be available in the member events space in the past events. All right, like I said. So I'm going to end the stream now. Thank you very much.